you enter for inputs and outputs and failures and all that kind of stuff. So, I'm working on what happens in network outage, and that's the kind of stuff where I need to do some automatic retries, and so that's the next thing that I'm working on, and figuring out how to do that without everything interfering with everything else, But I think I got ideas, It's going to be doable. It's going to take a lot of tinkering. How much tinkering? I don't know. Maybe another day or two, then it should be nailed. And then Lynn and I are discussing, as I said, now we agree with Francois that there's some fields that are just not going to make sense to people without a bunch of explanation, and study, and that being like the event type and the relationships. And so I want to get those off the user interfaces altogether, and those are still configurable. Will be configurable in the administration section, but then people who are just using the system will not have to worry about them. Okay, it'll be it'll be handled behind the scenes. Just handled automatically. So we're working on how to do that, and we're sort of it's one of those situations where we have to run through all of the possible examples and use cases that we can think of to see if we got everything covered, we think we're closing in on it, and so we're going to try to get that done in this coming week too, and that will be big. That will be some major database changes. And so basically, I postponed giving you the industrial strength database until that set of changes are done. And after that, if everything looks like it's working correctly for the time contributions, the lab notes, both for R&D processes and for manufacturing processes, then I want to move on to purchasing.
Okay.
After that, so that would be purchasing.
Nice.
Purchasing will at best start next week. Now, where are we at in terms of because you had one of the reasons for trying to shoot for end of January has something to do with Yes. Where are we at? I mean, what's if we slip some, how does that, what does that affect? Where are we? Because we're going to slip some.
Okay. I don't know if Mai had a specific request, except that she wanted to be able to show, to present to some people the system and what exactly she wanted, so that we don't know exactly.
Okay. So we should probably communicate with Mai about that and see when, because we can certainly show her the system. I think purchasing would be a good thing to have in there when we show it to it, but it's not totally necessary, I suppose. Now scalable, that's a different question. Like, scalable has a lot of different meanings. Scalable in what way? And
what I want to say is that actually what she's looking for is, are we getting this infrastructure that allows Sensorica to become what we think it should be, at least on paper, So we say that in order for this kind of ecosystem to become sustainable, it needs to have a critical mass. So scalable in that sense, if we want to stay a group of 6, 7, 8, 10 people in a lab, then you don't need this kind of infrastructure. Okay, you just use spreadsheets and you have a lot of stuff. It's informal in your head, and you have a cell phone and that guy's number, so you call him right away, so you solve problems on the spot. But if you wanna go to, let's say, a couple of thousands of contributors, okay, in different projects, and if you want to go to the long tail sort of mode of design and production, where you have micro contributions from many members, which is the vision of Sensorica, okay? Because these kind of open systems, they function in the long tail mode, not in the the normal distribution mode. So if you want to go there, well, you need to scale it at least beyond that critical mass. So I think this is what we have to show her. When we talk about valued networks as living systems, they operate in the long tail mode. There is a critical mass. Well, we can. This infrastructure allows us at least to get there. You see, and then to improve it.
Yeah. Well, there's in terms of that, there are. I can think of various dimensions of scalability that could, that we could move on. One is, the front page, the front page of the app, which right now is just prototype mode, and we've had some discussions about what do you want to show, and this is sort of like making the front page of the app a recruiting tool, I believe, which gets back to the recruitment angle. So the front page is like what's going on, how does this stuff work, what are the value streams that are going on, what are the opportunities for me to plug in, if I plug in, what does it mean, what is this thing, I actually get rewarded for my contributions to this open source stuff, I mean that, and how does that, so that would be one thing in terms of making the front page, assuming you want to make the front page a recruiting tool, because you're going to have Tactus as a sales tool. So you're going to want to have sales tool and recruiting tool, right?
Yes.
So assuming someplace, front page or wherever, we're going to want to have a recruiting interface, so here's the so which would somewhat speak to scalability in terms of involving more people, and then you got scalability in terms of how many people can we handle inside this particular app, okay, and we don't know yet. But there are going to be some challenges in scalability of a particular app. Right now we're running on a shared server with a separate shared database server. And when you start getting scaling to have multiple people, well, okay, now you need a dedicated server, you need a separate dedicated database machine, you might need yet a third machine for handling background jobs, notifications and that kind of stuff, so they don't interfere with one another. You might want to have another server, so static pages, so pretty soon you end up with a server farm. And then you get to some point where now, in order to run this, you actually need a live object cache, which is something like big companies like SAP are selling this for millions of dollars now. Okay, I've built these things. Okay, they're a little cranky to build, but they're buildable. So that's what to get the massive performance that this like racing car performance, for having a lot of people with a lot of data and a lot of contributions and reasoning over a lot of contributions. So there's a bunch of technical problems in terms how big does the app get in terms of how many people we can handle. Those are all solvable. Some of them, like running a server farm, is beyond my skill level. You know, we can find people that know how to do that. But there's some places in there where we're gonna need um, um, we're going to need more people on the technical end of it. And then scalability in terms of internet scale, in multiple networks and things like that, networks of networks, that's the stuff where we need to get into a protocol. Internetwork and our own internet value internetworking protocol, which is just going to be built on top of the internet, on top of the internet protocols, but is going to have some added features so you can know what we're talking about in a value network sense.
Yeah.
And so so there's a bunch of dimensions of scalability. I'm not exactly sure which ones are important to my. I think the easiest one for us to deal with first would be to start thinking about a recruiting interface, recruiting page, something that would speak to people who want to join the network.
Yeah,
join Sensorica. I mean, really, specifically.
That would require some simulators.
Yeah. So it's something to start thinking about. It's going to be one of those things where the thinking behind it is going to be more, maybe more. Certainly that's the big job is to think about what it should be and how it should be designed. The technical side of it is going to be easier.
And do you think this web page would be the front page of the value accounting prototype?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
I mean,
talking about recruiting.
Yeah, the recruiting tool would be the portal to the value accounting system, or it will be a web page on Sensorica that people enter and then they use the value accounting system, because I sense the value accounting system can be used by every community. So
yeah, I think both. I think it should be a page in the value network software system. What is now the prototype and will be by that time will be the live system. But it also should be able to be. I think you can do this basically using Google Sites, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think you can embed another page. So it should also be embeddable in the Sensorica website. So it's like, okay, so certainly you can link to it, but it should be also, there should be ways to embed it. I have to look at that. I've done some playing with Google Sites, but not tons. But I think it's doable, that we could say, okay, here's this recruiting page, we work it out. Because I think the recruiting page has to be live. I don't think it can just be a static page. I think it has to be now.
Interactive.
Real time, and to some extent real time and interactive. So people can interact with people who say, oh, okay, here's some opportunities for you. Okay, I want to take that opportunity.
Yes.
It may be that gets them into interacting in some way with somebody at Sensorica, who's going to bring them in, rather than it wouldn't be like an existing member taking task. It would be like, applying to do something that needs to be done.
Okay, so you mentioned,
and you mentioned future revenue for investment. That all of that stuff has to be live and interactive.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
So Bob, you see, it's this mine. okay, the project with money, and then there's the reality that really catches up with us,
Yep.
because we realize that when we went at the SEDEC, which is the local economic development center, to ask for some funding for the new lab that we want to build with EcoFab. One of the questions was, well, you want to build a lab, so you want to build a space sharing environment where different people can come and use the equipment and have their own their own little space in there, their own little office, their own little corner that they can rent and pay for. And actually the idea goes beyond that. Okay, so if we are special, if we can differentiate from other Fab Labs or from other space sharing facilities like this, is the value accounting system, is the fact that we allow these people in there not only to share a small space, to have a small estate, real estate in there, but also to allow them to dynamically form these collaboration networks, form them, form ventures inside this space. And that is the value accounting system that allows us. So this is how we differentiate ourselves from anything that is out there. Fab Labs and co-working spaces or space sharing facilities. Okay, so and everybody is now sensitized to this idea. It's that Sensorica is going to bring within this ecosystem a way to do that, a way to account for contributions and to set up real ventures, collaborative ventures. So
that's okay. Now that's a really interesting idea. There's a couple of ways to think about that. Are these new ventures projects within the Sensorica network? They are separate networks, so they would want to have their own instance of the value accounting system.
Exactly, and here we go into the protocol.
Then we start getting possibly into the internetworking protocol.
Exactly. Because what do we say? I mean, we had a case where Stefan and Christian that work with EcoFab, they were very interested in the robot finger that we created, and the discussion was how do we work together here? Do you want it as a part in your product, and then it's just a commercial relationship between Sensorica and your ventures, or you want to make it a Sensorica project, and then you come and we use the value accounting system. And I think naturally there is some resistance of people to say, well, I'll become part of Sensorica because of some identity and culture problem. So I think the easiest way is to say to people, well, keep your company or whatever you are. You might be a co-op, you might be a corporation, you might be an individual, whatever. So keep your identity. And here's the software that we can use, which we call the value accounting system, and on top of that we can set up our collaboration. Okay, so now that proposition, it's easier to swallow for people. You don't say to them, well, come and join and become part of Sensorica. That's a sort of an invitation in a melting pot for them, not knowing what Sensorica is. Okay, so it's sort of threatening their own identity. So that's why I think we need this value accounting system to be nameless, okay, to be something that is just an infrastructure. Okay, let's collaborate, and you know what? Let's just log contributions in this software here. Okay, so you keep your identity and we keep ours. Okay. So
okay. Now
that's
here's
the whole idea of the value network, right?
Here's a consequence of that is now we've got a bunch more infrastructure required for setting up instances of the value network software. Yes. In other words, I'm doing this first instance and I'm paying for the server count, and we've talked about spinning off that the value network software should be its own project.
Yes.
And so it would be providing a service to these people. Okay, now that service is gonna require technical work in order to do the setups initially, or to automate the setups, one way or another. And automating the setups is again beyond my skill set.
Mhm.
So that would have to pull somebody in to get that going. And I know people who know how to do that. That's not a problem. It's just to get them, to get them, recruiting them into the project, and then saying, well, okay, but also, one way or another, we have to deal then with how does the value network software project become financially sustainable, and how do the people who I recruit, or you recruit, or somebody recruits into that project, how do they get rewarded?
Yeah, I believe there's going to be more people wanting to participate, and from the lab side, I think people will realize the value and the necessity of this thing, and
Mhm.
trying also to talk with other partners, like from my side, and
Mhm.
see if she was very interested in this program, in this kind of a web application, the value accounting system. So yes, there will be more resources attached to it, and I also believe that we need to figure out a way how to sustain the fundamental development of this. Okay, because
Mhm.
what pulling it up and putting it on a server and ensuring maintenance, doing the installation, ensuring maintenance, that's one part of it. But then continuing to sustain development, okay, which is the work you are
Well,
doing, which is much more fundamental, that's the second part of it. So I don't know how we're going to do it. I suppose this is going to be part of an infrastructure that people will, pay a certain amount in order to sustain it. The same way they pay a certain amount to be in the lab. There will be many
yeah,
layers of membership. Okay, these
yeah,
members just come there and are just walking around and seeing things, and
yeah. Well,
and
you
maybe work
you've
on.
had yeah you've had a lot of pushback when you've suggested membership fees to people in Sensorica. People don't like the idea of uh, um, uh, paying to be part of the network,
Paying up
or and we won't like the idea of paying for the user interface, for the infrastructure. Um, I'm not sure that there are, it's maybe they just have to do that, or but these are going to be things that we're going to have to discuss with people who want to use it, and Sensorica is part of that, in terms of how is Sensorica going to contribute back to the software project.
hmm
And and I'm as before, I'm not really in a hurry on any of that stuff, but it is going to have to be, particularly as the ambitiousness of the project and the networks grow, it's going to have to be taken care of, because it's going to get beyond me, and
Yeah.
it's going to get beyond me pretty soon,
Mhm.
But basically, I mean, one of the things that I'm doing, and Lynn and I are also talking about it, I want to put together a design document, and I want to make it clear. I talked a little bit at one point about like forced moves in design space, which was a concept that was first named, as far as I know, by a guy named Dennett, who was like an evolutionary philosopher.
Okay.
Um, and he's saying that he is saying that in some circumstances, and if you're going to design, it's is our evolutionary changes designed in some way? How is it that you end up with these and so what Dennett is saying, that in some spaces you have forced moves. I mean, it's just it has to go this way, or some variation of that way.
Yeah.
The circumstances surround it and force it to be like that. It's not like you don't have to think hardly. So in the design of a value network, there are some forced moves. And I want to enunciate what those are, because those are things that are sort of like the foundation of a value network. technically, and some of those are pretty much the same as for any network. I mean, networks are a mathematical construct. Directed and undirected graphs, it's also a branch of computer science. So there's a bunch of this stuff that is forced moves, and people don't necessarily understand that. And so well, why do you need to do that? Well, because it's a network. You have to do that. You have no choice. You can name it something different. There are like maybe 2 or 3 different ways you can do it, but it's constrained. It's not. And then there's a lot of stuff around the side that you can go nuts with. You can do it a lot of different ways. Some of the stuff that we're dealing with to deal with automating some of these odd, some of these confusing fields, there's a bunch of different ways you could do that. There are no forced moves, so you can play around. And then, and likewise when it comes to scaling a system, there's been, people have worked enormously on that. There are a few ways to do it, but there are not limitless numbers of ways to do it. So if people can, this project could go in a lot of different directions. So at some point I'm going to try to document. Okay, what are the forced moves here? What is the foundation? What are the things that you do have to understand and not screw around with? And here are all the places where you can have fun. So you're adding to this structure that will hold together. And then after that point, then it's like, will it take off as an open source project? Will people start to fork it? Will people start to add pieces to it? Or get into what are these? If one of these other guys, let's say somebody comes out, we're a worker cooperative. We actually need some different features because a worker cooperative works slightly differently from Tibi's conception of a value network. So we need these other things. Well, okay, who's going to do those changes?
Yeah.
Well, there's some software worker cooperatives. Maybe recruit one of those guys. They know how it works already. If it starts getting those kinds of pickup, then it will survive as an open source software project, but the best way for it to survive would be to become an organization that can host the system for people. Okay. So if the people come into the lab and they say, okay, we want a system, so they don't have, right now they would have to, either me or somebody else would have to set it up on a server for them. So for a hosted system, basically, it's like Google Sites. You sign up and you get one. So,
yeah, you know what? I wouldn't go there because people are scared of this big platform, especially when you talk about them, hosting all their economic activities. Okay, so it's nice to go on Facebook and fool around with your social network and have discussions and share links, but it's another thing to put your labor and your revenue in the hands of a unified platform. So if we do that, I'm afraid we create a monster because someone else that has the money, okay, can actually create this platform, a larger one, a better one, a more scalable one, and then takes over you, okay, and becomes this feudal economic system where people own their means, but don't own the platform. Okay,
Yeah,
so I think this is what we want to avoid in order to create to avoid to create this monster. I think we really need to have it peer to peer. So say, people can download the application, use their own server, install it in their own, and then if they need help to do the installation, if they need help to set up the community around this tool, because it's just a tool, right? And building a value network is not just installing a program.
Oh yeah.
It's actually building an organization around it and building the culture and the identity and show people how to work together in this kind of environment. So then there is a lot of know-how that can be monetized. Okay,
Yep.
so so a lot of people can make a living out of helping other people installing their own value accounting system, their own value network, and linking it with other value networks. But all these nodes, I think it would be a big mistake to put them in the same place. Because then you create the monster. Then somebody's going to take over that.
Oh, they're going to do that anyway. But if the thing takes off at all, they'll do that anyway. But I'm happy to have it be all self-hosted. That's easier for me.
And so yeah, and another thing is, we're thinking about revenue, about ways to sustain it. I think if you make these efforts, this project that to build a value accounting system and the infrastructure for value networks, I think if you make it a for-profit organization, you kill it, or you create another type of monster, okay, which will feed on users, okay, because then you go into the logic of profit maximization, okay, where it has to, in order to survive and to sustain itself, it has to feed on the users, and then you create barriers to entry. So I think the best thing is to have it open source and have a sort of organization like a non-profit around it that can get funded not before revenue is generated but after revenue. So the thing that I have in mind is let people use the platform for free, and in case revenue is generated, then they are asked to inject some money into infrastructure development. And that is very understandable for physical infrastructure. Here's a space that we rent and we pay electricity and we pay the rent, and here's some equipment that we have to maintain. Well, you want to use it, you pay for it, okay? You don't pay for it to, Francois?
Yeah, sorry, so it's a pay-per-use. You mean every member, every user pay an annual fee that is collected on the revenue he got from selling.
Exactly. I wouldn't put barriers to entry. Say, well, you have a product idea, fine, so you have to use this space and this virtual infrastructure, so you have to pay some money up front before you even know that your idea is commercially viable. Okay, that guy might be coming out of a basement, all right, and he's looking for an opportunity, and everybody gets put off whenever you are asked to pay something up front. Okay?
Yeah, up front, I guess.
You see what I'm saying? So I think there's going to be enough revenue generation with this platform to sustain development, and what are the needs of the guys that develop infrastructure where, well, a certain amount of resources, and then if the ecosystem grows, well, then everything gets divided by every user generating revenue that matches that X. So I suppose that at some point it's going to become a very low cost for everybody to sustain the infrastructure.
Yeah, I like this idea too. It's transparent. It's like eBay, who collects some cents on every transaction you do, but we'll do that in a transparent way where you know exactly how much goes into the value accounting system for maintenance. And if this works and is already set, a lot of people will just use it without asking any further question, I guess. But it must be transparent.
Yeah, in order to get transactions fees, you have to host the system. It has to be, in other words, you have to be able to monitor the event and you can't have the system be hosted by somebody else.
Okay, so you mean that we have upfront costs but no upfront revenues? Is it that you say, or?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Not
So
necessarily, Francois.
if you have to host the system, you have upfront cost but no revenues yet? That is it what
Well,
you mean?
yeah, for the prototype system, right now it's costing me $9.50 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a fee to a company that runs the servers that I'm working on. Now I could cut that down more if I prepaid for a year or 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I'm not sure I want to stay there, so I'm just going month by month by now. So there's a minimum. You have to run a server that has a fairly fast connection to the internet.
Yes.
So that's something that is a lot easier for me to pay somebody else to do than to do myself.
Mm-hmm.
It would cost me a lot of money to set that up myself, and then I would have to run it, have to manage it, and I'm a programmer, so I don't want to do that. So everybody that wants to use the software will have to, at minimum, have some place to host it.
Yeah.
What I mentioned as one of the possibilities is that the software project itself, the Value Network software project itself, could host stuff for other people. Set up. Now, Tibi did not like that idea, because now you have a centralized organization that is providing, that basically is holding on to everybody else's data.
Well, Bob,
and in that case, let me just keep going with it. But
Yeah.
that is the situation. You would have to have that kind of a situation if you wanted to get transaction fees based on the activity in everybody's system. If you do it so that it is right now downloadable software. Anybody can now take it and drop it on their server, whether they run it themselves or whether they buy an account on at a hosting company, and they can run it themselves. But that means that I can't, and the software, the Value Network software project cannot look inside their database and extract transaction fees on their activities. Okay?
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, okay.
But Bob, this model already exists with wikis. Okay, so you can have wiki farms. If you're on a wiki, you can go on a wiki farm, which is a server hosting wikis. So it provides you that sort of thing. So this is the thing. But in order to have a wiki, you don't require to be on such platform. But if I want a Facebook account, I can set up my own. I need to be on Facebook. So that's the difference. Okay, so I can take a wiki and have it installed on my system, and I can have wiki farms, okay, that could that people pay for, okay, because they need a server, and that server costs money, and there is some maintenance too in the back, to make sure that your wiki is always running, okay, always stays up. Otherwise, you would have to incur this cost yourself in time. You have to take care of the maintenance, and you also have to pay for the server. So I think that's a nice arrangement.
Okay, so you would not have an objection to the Value Network software project running a Value Network farm.
As long as anybody has the choice to say, you know what, I'm out of this, and I'll build my own servers and my own thing.
Oh yeah. No, I'm committed to the software remaining open and available.
Yes, and then as a revenue model, you can say, well, whoever uses the Value Network farm because they don't have a server or anything, then you have the means to basically pay per use, right? So these people pay whatever it costs to maintain this infrastructure, including your time or somebody's time, okay, for maintenance and updated.
Yeah,
updated
yeah.
stuff like
Well,
that.
if you're running,
And then,
if you're running on, also if you're running on the server farm, then if the project is the software project is running the server farm, then the software project will keep everybody's server's software updated all the time.
okay, yes,
You
yes,
know, so you don't have to deal with software maintenance on that. So
exactly.
yeah, so
And
I'll
then,
say
and then
there are advantages to the people who want to start projects to having such a farm available to them.
exactly.
Not mandatory.
Exactly. I mean, if wikis evolved in that way, it's for a reason. Because there is somebody that has a very small project and wants a wiki, you know, and that service becomes a value proposition, you know. So
Yep.
you just click a button and pay $5 per month, and you have a wiki and forget about maintenance and anything else, you know. So they evolved this way for a reason, and I think there is a parallel to make with value accounting system.
Yeah,
And I just want to add something else. So at the same time, these guys that want to move out because they become big and they want to have their own nodes set up and run on their own servers, well, then you can have a revenue model which is based on donation. Okay, and there are different ways to make them feel shameful, you know, if they don't contribute to development of the infrastructure, right?
Well, it's not, it depends on. I think that the system, the whole idea of the system is going to appeal to people who have a collaborative mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not very. I wouldn't be. I'm not worried about freeloaders at all.
No, but having money coming in for the maintenance, we must keep this idea. And when the system will be used at the new EcoFab will be part of, well, these Fab Labs, they are used to collect fees. So a part of these fees will go into the value accounting system for maintenance.
And development, yeah.
And development.
Yeah.
So, Francois, we have to put that into the business plan and treat it as part of the infrastructure. So you have the physical infrastructure.
Exactly, for infrastructure.
Yes. So we have to factor that in. So when we calculate membership fees, because this this lab is going to be an ecosystem, but it's the case is going to be a little different because he's probably going to host the value accounting system itself, because it will have the resources to, it will have a server and it will have some people around to do the maintenance. I don't think that will be a problem. But so in that case, it will be a good case scenario where, hey, can we make this thing sustainable and at the same time pay for this organization that takes care of new development? You know what I'm saying?
Yep. So now one of the things that will be coming up on that is I'm going to set up pretty soon, particularly when we get through with this R&D stuff, because I need that for the software development. I'm going to set up a separate instance of the Value Network software to run the Value Network software project as a separate network.
Okay.
So then so then we can start and that's where the bulk of my contributions will go. And Tibi and Francois, you guys have also made lots of contributions to that project. So at least you two guys would be members of that project. And so that'll be another opportunity to work through some of the details of the software in a different domain.
Yes.
And that domain, that might be closer to Mai's domain. That might be interesting to her as well.
Right.
So that's coming up pretty soon. So yeah, okay. This will all be fun. This will be all be very interesting. Okay. So by the way, now can I change the subject?
Yes.
Okay. As I said, the autosave for lab notes is pretty much working. I got maybe a couple of days to work on some of the rough edges, some of the screwy stuff, but you can try it now, and if you try it, in any case, if you think you lost some data for whatever reason, a cow came into the room and stepped on your computer or whatever, let me know, okay? And I will let you know when I think it's all done, which should be like sometime Wednesday. All right, and then I'm going to start working. I'm working on the side also in getting rid of the annoying and confusing fields in some of those interfaces, and that's going to require changes to the database and lots of different interfaces. And so I will let you know when that is coming up and do some documentation on what are the differences. I think mostly it'll be for the most part it will be removing things from the interface, making it simpler.
Okay.
That's the goal, is to make the interface simpler.
Mm-hmm.
And so my plan for this coming week is to, number one, handle all the rough edges on the autosave on lab notes, and then number two is do that whole interface simplification.
Okay.
Okay. And then so that's the plan.
Bob,
yes.
okay, I had a request. So I am now using the lab notes, and so it's. I think this is huge. What we did here, this idea of linking documentation and contribution logging, I think this is huge, because people sometimes don't document because they don't have time, because they want to go fast. They jump over this process, which is crucial for a value network, because people have to have visibility into other people's work, and they have to share knowledge and information. So I think linking these two together, it's huge, because you force people to document and share their documentation, and at the same time, people can log their contribution. So it makes both processes easier, and it makes them necessary. Okay, I think this is very important. But now my question is, where is that time data go? And you had a question before saying, will people? How are we going to do the transition between spreadsheets and lab notes? So one of the idea that I had was actually to format the contribution that is logged as from the lab notes, to format it almost like in the spreadsheets, and make it available on a text page, so I can come later and take a bunch of them, okay, copy and paste them into the spreadsheet that we normally use. So that way, people that don't trust the new system, they can at least copy and paste. Okay, so put that information into the old system, and at some point we're going to see that this is reliable and this matches with what we used to do, and we're going to eliminate that choice, which is going into the spreadsheet and log the contribution, and only use the new platform. What do you think about that?
Okay, here's where we're at on that right now. One of the other things I did this week is I separated the time contributions from the lab notes, such that you're doing a time contribution per day.
Okay.
And the description, the documentation continues to build up, and so you got this big documentation, and you got these daily time contributions, and the time contributions remain in the system as individual rows, and they are on the here. Let me show you. I'm gonna share my screen here in a minute. Okay. Screen share, screen share. Okay. And here we go. Okay, so can you see my my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so in here, all of these all the contributions are economic events in the system.
Okay.
And there'll be other economic events, but basically, okay. So here we have. Okay, so you see over here, there's event types. So time contribution is an event type. Okay, so here are all the time contributions. Okay, so if I select all of them, and then for the action, I say export as a CSV file.
Okay.
And then I don't know this. I don't know if it's gonna. Ooh,
You want export? Yes.
I had an error. Okay, so there's a bug. All right, that's okay. They'll fix the bug. But basically, that's the deal. You can export all this stuff. You can export all this stuff as
a spreadsheet.
Yeah. As you will be able to anyway. As soon as I broke something in there. But at any rate, this is true for any pages in the administration. You can select and you can export into spreadsheets. Now, the format is not exactly the same as your spreadsheets. You know, if you wanted an export that would be really the same, you know, as the contributions, as the stuff in the spreadsheet, we would have to do some. I would have to do some work, and we'd have to communicate a bit about that. You know, like how should that be formatted?
You know what, Bob? I can do a LabVIEW program. I can do a LabVIEW program that does that. That's not a problem. If I already have them in this format,
you will as soon as I fix this bug, you will be able to do that again.
Okay.
All right. So and I'll fix that. I'll fix that right after we get done today. So I'll ping you, you know, when it's done, and then you can start extracting stuff and see how that works.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Okay. So and we can do. How did you get here? Because I was wondering how.
It's just anything. You're still seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so here let me go back. Okay, so here's the value accounting stuff, and here are economic events.
Okay. It's an event. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then you go there, and then you go over to the right. You see by event type.
Okay.
And you select time contribution.
Okay, got it. Okay. So we already have this data. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. All the time contributions are here.
I was wondering where they go. You know. Yeah. Okay.
That's where they go. All
right.
And they're also you know, you remember that someplace I had before you know, where you could see all your contributions. You know, I'm going to revive that. I still have that in the system. It's just it got buried because it was in something that's not being used right now. So you will have some, you know, you will have some other options. Like everybody, this is available to you and probably only you right now, and you and me. There will also be an interface for looking at your contributions for every individual.
Okay.
You know, so whoever's logged in, so you can see your contributions. Francois can see his. John can see his. Whatever. So
for now, we have all the contributions.
In one. All the contributions and extract them into a spreadsheet. And that's true.
No problem.
that's true of everything in the administration section. Every page has one of those where you can select it, you can export it into a spreadsheet.
Okay.
And they're probably all broken. And I will fix them. So I broke something in the last few days. So
Okay.
so it will get fixed. All right?
Okay.
Okay, there the system sent me the error message. I got all the details. No, what do we got? I don't know. We'll figure it out. So there's something in here that it's a it's a Unicode ick. That's what it is. So you didn't actually even want to know that, but whatever.
I thought
I have to torture you a little bit too. It's can't suffer alone. When you see Unicode and code error, you know you're in trouble.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
No. They're just cranky. They're just cranky.
Okay.
But at any rate, they're fixable. Okay. It's something was not properly Unicoded.
Mm-hmm.
You know what Unicode is?
No.
Unicode is an international. It used to be ASCII, which used to be the code for data, and that was English only. Unicode covers every language on the planet, but you have to encode things differently. So if you take something that was ASCII and you try to Unicode it, sometimes you have some. Or something was not properly Unicoded, that's something like that. It'll be fine. All right. So, is there anything else that we should talk about?
Can I bother you a little bit more? Can you show me how to edit an R&D project we already set?
Oh, the R&D project. Okay. Hang on.
So you create an R&D project and you want to re-edit it, right? To change some of the choices.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So we got these R&D projects. All right.
Can you show your screen?
I'm going to show my screen here.
Perfect.
And I'm going to show you that there is a
Oh, Francois is also sharing his.
Oh, okay. So then I won't do it. Okay, so Francois is sharing his.
Yeah, so
All right.
I can click on an R&D project I
just click on that.
created, and I have this blank. Well, not blank.
Okay. Okay. You know what? You can't right now. I did make you a form where you can edit that.
Okay.
Okay. Will do.
But maybe it's because there are some non-logical things in the page, no?
There might be, but regardless, you should still be able to edit you should be able to edit it and so at any rate, it will be done.
Okay.
It will be done. I got it on my to-do list.
Thank you, Bob. I hope you don't have too much to do for us.
And I'll let you know when it's ready.
Okay.
Okay, so I got work to do here. Anything else?
Not for me. Thank you.
I think fine. I'm gonna send you some more feedback on lab notes as I continue to use them.
I'm sorry,
And
what?
I'm gonna send you some more feedback on lab notes as I continue to use them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, ping me back any other because I'm working on all that stuff, this week. Let me know what you run into,
Okay.
and other suggestions, problems, and we'll keep rocking and rolling.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect,
Thank
Bob.
you. Thanks a lot.
Okay. See y'all.
See you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.